What is up, my brothers and sisters, my agents of respect? It's your boy Trey Johnson back with another episode of the No Disrespect But podcast. Before we get started, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Always feel free to comment. Just make sure you keep those comments respectful. If you're interested in supporting your favorite podcaster, yours truly, the link to do so will be in the episode description. You can support us for as little as 99 cents a month. So shout out to everybody that supports the channel, all my agents of respect. Really appreciate you guys. So let's hop back into it. Tuesday, January 2nd, day after New Year's Day. In all honesty, I thought, after I left you guys last Friday, I thought I was going to be previewing the national championship between Alabama and the University of Washington. And to be honest, the two semifinals games went kind of how I thought they would go. How I told you they would go, where Michigan and Alabama were going to be in a bar fight, that Alabama was not necessarily a complete team. They still had some deficiencies that had plagued them throughout the year. And so it wasn't going to be, or I wasn't going to predict it the way I would in years past, where I would have Alabama truly rolling over a Michigan Wolverines team. They're a number one team for a reason. The University of Washington, University of Texas, that was fireworks. I said that was going to be a shootout. They ended up uh, ending on a 4th and 15 stand. The Rose Bowl between Alabama and Michigan ended up on a 4th and goal stand in overtime. So you got what you really wanted out of this semifinals matchup. And look, it's as a college football fan, this was everything I could have asked for from all four teams, right? Battled, played to their strengths, did the best they could, executed as best as they could, and the better teams in each of these respective games won. And as a fan, you got to watch high level football. Like I mean, if you enjoy this game, if you're a college football fan, you enjoy what you watch. Now, as an Alabama fan, of course, highly disappointed. When I say disappointed, I'm disappointed in the outcome in this particular game. How we played. Like I said, I felt like we had some issues that when we started getting winning again post Texas game, we still were having issues starting fast on offense. I want to say we only had maybe one or two opening drive touchdowns the whole season in 13 games to play. That has to change next year. Obviously, we have to be faster on offense. Tougher schedule, a lot of road matchups against some high caliber teams. Have to be better. Um, I thought snapping was an issue all year long with center Seth McLaughlin. Um, and it reared its ugly head from the first game of the season to the very last game, the very last snap of the season. He struggled, right? It is what it is. You wish that could have been addressed somehow throughout the season. Maybe seeing a guy, whoever is behind him, getting a shot at maybe seeing if he can be the guy. We've seen it at every position. We saw it at the quarterback position with Jalen Milroe. We saw it at the wide receiver position. You saw a guy like Jacoby Brooks who had a lot of promise coming in, kind of getting out of rotation, largely in part because of injuries and some drops early on in the season. But you saw some young wide receivers getting a chance. You saw some young DBs getting a chance in our secondary. You saw young linebackers like a Jahad Campbell, who wasn't a starter in our rotation, getting a shot via injury, but even some lapses in the linebacking core in terms of execution. You saw a young guy getting a chance. You saw some of our young pass rushers and our young defensive linemen get chances to make impacts. You saw our running backs get a chance. If Jace or Rodell didn't have it going, you saw Jam get a chance. You saw Justice get a chance, right? Um, so there was lots of opportunity given. You saw shifts on our offensive line. It felt like the first 6 games, Proctor, our left tackle, was getting rolled in and out. You saw shuffles at the right guard position. So It always felt like the only person on the team that wasn't really held accountable for lack of execution was Seth. And he's a guy, he's a fifth year senior, I believe, a guy, who earned the right to be the starting center at the University of Alabama, no doubt. Graduate as well. So shout out to that. That's what you go to college for, to get that degree. And so proud of him for that. But just never really materialized. You just never seemed like him and Miro got on the same page in terms of the snap. And when a guy always is having to reach to his ankles to get to the ball, that's a bad thing. It's like I said, from first snap to the last play, last snap, it doomed us in the end. And so, at the end of the day, knowing where this team came from, all the questions, all the uncertainty, projected to lose 3 or 4 games this year, to fight back after that Texas loss and a Pirate victory against USF where we won the game, but there was still a whole lot of questions, right? To see them fight back, to win as many games, win tough matchups against some high caliber teams in the SEC, to beat the number one team, two-time defending champ, the University of Georgia, to be able to do that, get to a get to the playoff semifinal, and have a lead against the number one team in the nation, having a chance to be two number one ranked teams in the same season. And we just fell short. We had our opportunities and fell short. And I wanted the opportunity to give Michigan their credit. Not only did they earn this victory, they took that victory. And that is a well-coached ball club. Those guys, experienced veteran team, they were ready, they were prepared, they executed to a T. And you know how you know when a team is really in tune and executing? Even the plays where they kind of messed up. Like there was a play where they're trying to throw a double pass, and it's a bad pass to JJ McCarthy. He just corrals it and is able to get it off to his receiver accurately. So it was like even the plays where they kind of messed up, they still were able to get a positive play from it. And so that just kind of shows just how well executed they were. The way they used that motion pre-snap offensively to confuse the Alabama defense, always catching them in kind of a man-to-man look and always having a man beater for getting JJ McCarthy out of the pocket, selectively utilizing Blake Corum in the run game, but also utilizing him in the pass game and making him a force there. The way they use their tight ends and their receivers, just kind of getting the ball downfield. It was magical to watch them at work. And on defense, just the way they were able to blitz, disguise blitzes, just give the University of Alabama and their offense and offensive coordinator Tommy Rees multiple looks that made it a little bit difficult to game plan. I would have liked to see Alabama, commit to the run a little bit more. Our running backs were essentially having a field day running the ball, and so you would like them to kind of keep up with that. But Michigan, just what their game plan defensively against Jalen Milroe and our offense, and being able to take away some of those deep shots that we like because of the amount of pressure that they were bringing, saying, "Hey, we're not going to give him time to scan the field and get these passes off." And in key situations, knocking us out of, or forcing us into long field goals instead of us getting touchdowns, that type of thing. Michigan came to play. They did their job. They outplayed us. They outcoached us. They out-executed us. And the better team won. That's just simple as that. Can't make any excuses. I know some people are going to talk about missed penalties here and there, things of that nature. Guess what? There's missed penalties on every single play by every single team. At the end of the day, you got to make the most positive plays, and Michigan made the most positive plays. And so they have a chance to win a national championship for the first time since 1997. And, you know, going into the Sugar Bowl now with University of Texas and University of Washington. And I will admit, I didn't watch as much of that game because I was depressed. Bama losses really take a lot out of me. Going to work today was a shit show. Didn't really want to go. I honestly didn't want to do this, but if I'm gonna come to you guys in the moments of highness and elation, I gotta come to you in the moments of lowness and just downright feeling like crap, right? And so watched a little bit of it, trying to make sure I got some highlights but I made sure to kind of go through the timeline, and social media and see what everybody was kind of saying about the game. And It appeared to be exactly how I told you guys it was going to be. It was going to be a shootout. It was going to be two high potent offenses getting it done, making plays, but it was going to come down to which defense could make more plays. And as you saw, Washington's defense made more plays, getting key stops on defense, forcing field goals when Texas could have gotten touchdowns, and their offense more, and then Washington's offense more times than not, led by Michael Penix Jr., was dialing it up. And what did I tell you guys? Washington's offensive line voted as the best offensive line in college football. They were going to give Michael Penix time. And even when he didn't have time, when they did, have blunders, right? I told you he has enough pocket presence, he has enough movement in the pocket where he can make a play with his legs and extend it. And so was he really like running the ball like talking about? No, but there's one play where Texas runs a stunt and the lineman is right in his face and he just shuffles to the right, just a subtle shucks to the right, and just throws it across the field to Odunze. And so that's what I kept saying that Michael Penix Jr. brings to the table, that pocket presence, that ability to make subtle movements. He's no Lamar Jackson, Cam Newton, Michael Vick, right? But just a subtle movement to get the defender off his beat and then make that throw downfield. And he made enough of those. And they ended up scoring 37 points. So I told you it was going to be a fireworks. And Texas scored 31. And they had a chance late. Quinn Ewers, when we talk about some of the great quarterbacks in Texas history and coming down and making some key fourth quarter drives to Colt McCall's, and we all know the Vince Young drive to beat USC in the national championship in 2005, right? So you knew that, hey, Quinn with these receivers, with these weapons, Coach Sark calling the plays. You keep men long enough, they'll make a play. And they got to the red zone, 4th and 15, 1 second left. And in my opinion, though, some people were saying that was a bad play call, and I didn't really see the first 3 calls because I was hearing that Sark kind of struggled down there. That last play call, you got your best receiver, Adonai Mitchell, 6'4", going on a fade route. Quinn just has to give him a better ball. He just has to give him a better ball, and they may win the game if they hit the extra point. But kind of floats it a little bit, and the Washington defender makes a hell of a play. And now they're going to the national championship. And so I want to give credit to the University of Washington. There's a lot that's said about the Pac-12 and their defenses and can they handle these high pressure games. And Washington is such a well-coached team. Man, they did what they had to do. And it helps when you have they have the best quarterback in the college football playoffs. Let's just be honest about that. A Heisman finalist and Michael Penix Jr. can make every throw in the book. Every throw in the book you want him to make, he can make, and he will do that effortlessly, right? And the way he was able to command that offense, where he didn't seem rattled at all. He just always seemed cool and collected, even in the face of pressure. And look, a lot of folks on my timeline are New Orleans Saints fans. He was doing this in the dome, and they were like, "Hey, keep this kid here. Don't let him leave. Sign the contract now." Excuse me. And so I understand that he's a guy, that's on my draft board and behind Jaden Daniels, of course, who I hope we get. But I love Michael Penix Jr. I love him as a passer. He's a guy that I know can get the ball to the athletes. And in this game, and how Coach Saban says it all the time, the quarterback has to be a point guard. It has to be somebody that can put others in positions to succeed and get them the ball to make a play. And nobody out of these 4 teams has the quarterback that does it the best than Washington, and it shows. Of the 4 quarterbacks that played, Michael Penix Jr. was the best. He by far was the best in what we were seeing in the Rose Bowl between Jalen Milroe and J.J. McCarthy. Jalen Milroe definitely struggling due to the pressure, and J.J. McCarthy had certain struggles, but was able to overcome it when it mattered. But when we're talking about consistent from start to finish, Michael Penix Jr. is that guy, and the talent they have at wide receiver, we know what they have in the offensive line. And so I'm really looking forward to that national championship because they're going to get strength on strength. Washington's offensive line versus Michigan's front. And so we'll see who wins that battle Um, won't be. I can tell you right now, there really won't be a preview of the national championship. It is not because Alabama's not in it. My plan was never to really do a preview of that, but more so um, talk about that after and just my thoughts on it. But which I would still do with the Michigan and Washington game and talk about who the winner, congratulate who that person might be. Um, and look, I think it might be Washington. I said I won't give a prediction of score and stuff, but I do think Washington just has enough offensively to get it done. And I think their defense is a little bit more stout than what people may give them credit for. And so that's going to be a wonderful matchup, a beautiful game. And so we'll see who pulls it off, who wins their first national championship in quite some time. I think it's been since 1991 for the University of Washington, and like I said, 1997 for the University of Michigan. So it'll be a good one, and I think the first time someone outside of the ACC or SEC has won a national championship since Ohio State, if I'm not mistaken, when they won the first um, college football playoff against Oregon. So a lot of history will be made, and so really looking forward to that. And so, as I in this episode, on the timeline today, there's been a lot of, especially because Alabama and Texas lost, there's been a lot of Florida State fans that have kind of been taking their pound of flesh, and saying, "Hey, we definitely should have got in." And dude, when your team gets smashed by 60 points on national television, I don't give a damn who played. You had a month to prepare, and you can't even muster a touchdown. That was quite embarrassing. And if I was a fan of the Florida State Seminoles, I would not be talking. I would be quiet until August. I wouldn't dare have the gall to run my mouth about what my team would have done in the college football playoffs. And no disrespect, but the college playoff committee was right. You want me to tell you why they were right? It's not them putting Alabama and Texas in wasn't saying Alabama and Texas are going to win their respective games and vie for a national championship. That is not what the college football playoff committee was telling us when they put those four teams or put those two teams in the top four. What they said is these are the top four teams in college football. These matchups, they are going to be hard fought, competitive games. Guys, we have been watching the college football playoff, and we know how those semifinal games have been. They've either been close and high scoring or they have been blowouts. So there's always been speculation of, did we really put the best four in? I think yesterday left no doubt that you put the best four in. You have a bar fight between Michigan and Alabama that goes to overtime. Fourth and goal from the 3.5 yard line. Best on best. Bad snap. Quarterback picks it up, tries to make a play, runs through a wall. And guess why it's a wall? Because Michigan blew it up. Their defensive line blew it up. Fourth down, overtime. We ended on a walk-off. Beautiful game, tough, hard-fought game. We can talk about the quarterbacks and them not looking pretty, doing what they were doing, and the game being ugly. No, you just think just because the team doesn't score a lot of points doesn't mean the game is ugly. It's still football. The defenses have pride in what they do as well. We saw great punters on both ends. Yeah, I'm giving some love to the punters of how they were able to flip field position, giving love to a Will Reichard, the college football's all-time leading scorer now, making clutch kick after clutch kick. Let's talk about down 7, 4 minutes left, driving at 2:15, 4th and 2. JJ McCarthy clutch pass to what a beautiful play call to get the ball to your best player. The two best players in your offense touch the ball. Quarterback gets the ball, gets it to your best player, and Blake Corum, and he has a big gain of 35 yards in a clutch situation. The same guy that ends up hitting 2 straight runs in overtime that lead to a touchdown. That's what you want in a game. Let's go to Washington versus Texas. Two high-flying offenses doing their thing. We had 20, both teams had 21 points in the first half. We had 42 points scored in the first half. Then, Washington kind of gets a double-digit lead late, and then Texas is able to climb themselves back and drive down the field and are within one play of getting to a national championship. Like, that is what playoff football is supposed to be. So if you are a Seminole fan and you are talking about, oh, the committee got it wrong, please do me a favor and shut the hell up, because you are wrong. Right now, you are just bitter. And look, I can see if you gave Georgia a run for their money. And look, don't tell me about who missed the game. That's your fault, not ours. You couldn't coach up. You couldn't talk to your players and say, hey, this means something. And guess what? I get it. You're pissed off. You went undefeated. You should have a chance to survive for a national championship. I get it. But you didn't. And the reason why you didn't is because it's not what you did throughout the season. You were out your starting quarterback. You were so busy trying to look at other quarterbacks in the portal that the second string quarterback said, you know what? Screw this, guys. I'm about to do what's best for my future and go get in the portal and see if I can go get a starting job elsewhere, because you want to get somebody else. I mean, not to the guy decommitted or hit the transfer portal a week ago, and you already got a new quarterback today. So we already know the game. But you could have had a tape ride and maybe he would have made things look better against UGA, but you didn't, because you were playing foul games. You played stupid games, you won stupid prizes. So you had to start the true freshman that people kind of assumed was going to be your starting quarterback in the college football playoff anyway, right? And you got beat to a pulp on national television. Everybody saw it. So do us a favor and shut your mouth, know your place, and say nothing until August. Say nothing. You don't have a right to say anything. Because yes, Texas and Alabama lost their semifinals games. But damn it, they gave us games. They gave us competition. And that's what fans of the college football playoff have been begging for the past 7 years. Competition. Give us the four best. Keep us on our seats. And that's what the college football playoff committee was able to provide, putting these four teams in. And that's what these four teams did. They delivered. They delivered. Just because the 3 and the 4 seed lost, as typically happens or should happen against a 1 and a 2 seed, let's be realistic. The higher seed should win, because they've been seen as the top 2 teams in the nation all year. If 3 and 4 lose, no harm, no foul. But we want a competitive game, right? And that's what we got. We should be happy with that. That's what we should be talking about today. That we finally got good playoff football. And if there's something to be excited for with this 12-team playoff that's coming up, that I'm calling the SEC Invitational until proven otherwise, is that if we can get matchups like this consistently, if we can get matchups like this consistently in a 12-game playoff, oh, it's a win. It is a win across the board. It's not going to be how many SEC teams or Big Ten teams that determines if the 12-team playoff is a win. It's not going to be how many Group of 5 teams that determine if the 12-team college football playoff is a win. What's going to determine it is, are we having high competitive games? The Cinderellas, do they really stand a chance? Not saying that they have to win the game, but are we coming down to the last stretch, to that final quarter where they've given their best, the opposing other team is giving their best, and these so-called Cinderellas have shown that they can do it. We talk about the Cinderellas in the NCAA men's basketball tournament, because let's be honest, in the women's basketball tournament, the cream of the crop usually win. So it usually happens in men's basketball tournament. And yes, we're infatuated with those that do win, but think about the teams that gave the 1 seed or the 2 seed or the 3 seed or the 4 seed a run for their money. They may not have won, but they put the pressure on some of the top teams in the nation, right? That's what we're hoping can happen with this 12-team playoff. And if what happened in yesterday's semifinal is any indication of what we are to expect in a 12-team playoff, we should be excited about that. I am a little bit skeptical because I don't think we're going to have this all the time. Granted, it took us 7 years almost to get this level of a competitive semifinal, right? So I'm not gonna. I want to be fair, right, in holding the 12-team playoff and giving them some time to have a competitive field. But at the same time, I'm kind of going to be a little harsh because it was begged for. So if I don't see immediate results of immediate competitive football, and that it's not just the SEC for the most part, and then sprinkle in the Big Ten ACC running the joint, which have been the three teams running the playoffs since its conception anyway, well, maybe, but we'll see. But I said to say, like, hey, Florida State fans, y'all got to pipe down a little bit. And I ain't really going back and forth with everybody on social media because they got beat by 60 points. Like, I would not be talking. Like, if Alabama got their behinds whooped last night, I wouldn't be talking to anybody. Like, hey, y'all can see me in August. Like, don't ask me nothing about the quarterbacks, the coaches, none of that. Y'all will see me in August. Florida State, I want to see you in August. Let's see if y'all really prepped, or if you're just a 1 year wonder. Let's not be acting like y'all were consistently good the last few years. Who's to say Clemson won't bounce back? They're returning a lot of players, especially their starting quarterback. You want me to believe that DJ Ukulele? Hope I said that wrong. Hope I said that right. Is going to be your guy, the guy that Clemson cast off. And we're talking about all the players that are y'all are losing in the draft this year. Okay, we'll see. But before you start trash, get consistent, man. And yes, I can talk because my team's consistently been there. But pipe down. And if you aren't a Michigan fan, you might as well pipe down when you're talking to me, especially if your team matched up against mine and didn't win. Like you didn't win. LSU, you didn't win. We beat you by double digits. Tennessee, you didn't win. We beat you by double digits. UGA, we beat you in the SEC championship game. Auburn, you're still a little brother. We beat you, remember? So, it is what it is. But I get it. When you're the standard, everybody prays on your downfall. They're going to be, the moment that people stop being happy when Alabama loses is when the run has ended. And hopefully that run never ends. I want y'all to always be mad forever because Alabama will always be here. And hopefully they're doing things by the book so we don't have another era of reduced scholarships to where y'all think we suck just because we don't have enough scholarships to get the type of players we need. But it is what it is. Excited again for what's next for next season. Again, not going to talk a lot about college football offseason. I like to stay away from that because it's young men's lives. So whether they decide to transfer, whether they decide, or what's going on with their competitions and things like that, like I leave that stuff out just because I want to let the cards fall where they may, and just let those guys enjoy it and not trying to be one of those content folks that's always talking about every single thing that happens to do. They're young men at the end of the day, so kind of let them have their moment. They've been busting their ass since the spring, actually since the winter, early spring semester. So they've been busting their asses. Let them have a break from hearing about what people think of them, who they are, what they should be, all that type of stuff. Give them a break. I'll pick this stuff up with them in the fall, as I always do, as we're previewing the next college football season. But it hasn't ended yet. We have a national championship. Number one, Michigan. Number two, Washington. The best team will win. And I think college football fans, they will be excited regardless of the outcome, just as a total. I mean, Michigan and Washington is going to be hit or miss with them, right? Because they're in it. But anybody else surrounding the game, you can be excited with what it's bringing because this is arguably the best college football we've had in a long time. And I mean, from semifinal to potentially the national championship, this might be the best that we've had in a long time, maybe even ever in this era. And so, if it's anything, I'm excited to see what the 12-team playoff brings, if it can bring me this on a consistent basis. But want to let y'all know, new episode on Friday. So it's going to be a week before you see me. We're going to be talking college football national championship. It's also going to be the day after Black Monday, as they call it. I wish they get a better name for that. But that's when the NFL season ends. You know who the playoff teams are. Coaches for bad teams, so to speak, they end up getting fired. Hopefully, the New Orleans Saints are in that number and getting a new head coach and a new regime in place. But there's been a lot of reports that say Dennis Allen is safe, so maybe you might hear Pete Carmichael being relieved of duties and things of that nature. So, going to try to have some guests come on and speak about that and not just the actions that have happened on Black Monday, but also what do we think? Who might be some of those hot head coach candidates? Who going to be some of those hot offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator candidates, depending on the changes that come on that day, and just kind of giving you some hints into what we think might be occurring in the NFL offseason. So really going to be excited to kind of talk about what that looks like, and then going to kind of give a preview of the current playoff picture. How do we think the playoffs are going to unfold? We're going to get some predictions from wild card to the Super Bowl and go from there. So we expect to have some guests on the show next week. Looking forward to seeing you guys. As I always end the show, if there's anything I ever did or said that offended anybody, it's a good thing. It's an opportunity for me to learn. It's an opportunity for you to teach me. All I ask is that you keep it respectful. Peace.